We're judging the world and saying what sucks. We're reviews versus the world.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
I don't hate Spider-Man Homecoming, and I'm pretty sure I said that in the chat, that I don't hate that movie. I actually, I think it is fine. We don't have to get into it because we have been arguing about this stuff for like a half hour, and we've been recording the whole time. So let's actually dive into the topic of discussion.
Hey!
We start the freaking podcast! Hello, everybody! Welcome to Reviews versus the World!
Hooray!
Holy crap, that hooray from John was actually prompted by the fact that we finally freaking started. My name is Stephen Bradford, and I will be your host this evening, and we will begin, as we always do, by introducing each of ourselves in turn and talking about what we've been into for the last month. So why don't we go ahead and start off to my immediate left with Brady. Hello, Brady.
Hi, I'm Brady.
What have you been into for the last month, Brady?
So here's the thing. I've been on my sabbatical from work.
Jerk.
So I had a month off just because I work for an absolutely amazing company.
Like a jerk.
Brady works for the company like a jerk.
Yes. And so you'd think that I would have gotten into a lot more stuff, but I also put in a sprinkling system and leveled my backyard and tilled, and we actually just did some hydro seeding today, so it's been very, very busy in that way. But I still did have some time for some other things. So, first of all, I started the book. I've tried a couple of times before to get into it, and the problem with high fantasy is that there's a high barrier of entry.
Yep.
And basically, you have to get like 100 pages in before you're like, okay, I have my bearings now. And so I started, and actually kept on going this time with In the Name of the Wind, which is...
The Name of the Wind.
Which
The
is...
Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Yes.
I actually started reading this not too long ago.
It's pretty good.
I didn't get very far.
Yeah.
Like you said, high bar of entry. I didn't hate what I was actually listening to the audiobook, and I didn't hate what I'd listened to. I just fell off.
Yeah. I mean, my only issues that I have with it is just that there's this narrative choice where it's story within a story within a story at times. So, so you have, the main thing is there's this chronicler who comes to this guy's bar and says, hey, I know who you are, and you're pretending to be someone else now, but I know who you really are, and I want to know your story. So then it's the guy starts telling his story, and then in the middle of his stories, there are characters who tell stories. And so it reminds me of, like, if you were watching a cartoon and they had thought bubbles upon thought bubbles upon thought bubbles, and then they all come crashing down to get you back to the normal character. Yeah.
So basically, it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yes.
Yeah, watch The Prestige.
Yeah, that's exactly the framing device of the Prestige.
Or Frankenstein.
Or Frankenstein.
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
That's not a Nolan movie.
Or Titanic.
No, I was talking about the narrative structure.
But talking about your butt's narrative structure. I want to wait for that one.
But anyway, so despite my issues with that, which it really does bug me sometimes, but beside that, it's actually pretty good. I'm about halfway through at this point, and I'm seeing where things are going, and I'm really liking it.
Cool.
So I would definitely recommend that.
All right.
Also, you guys wouldn't believe this, but I've been watching TV and playing video games.
I'm so shocked.
It's out of character.
I'm so shocked.
So the TV show that I watched, my wife and I actually binged it because it just came onto Hulu, and I heard some critics that just kind of pawpawed this show away.
Pawpawed?
Like, paw. You don't need to watch that.
The mere fact that you call it pawpaw tells me that you're not ready.
Bravo!
I do believe the points for Steven for that round.
Y'all are welcome.
Anyway, and it's based on a book by Douglas Adams.
Do
Dirk,
like that guy.
Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Oh!
And the thing is, I started thinking back to those reviews because I do read tons of TV reviews because I'm like, my time is important. I only want the best.
Uh-huh.
And I went back and read a few of those reviews again, And the problem is, they were writing these reviews with only having seen a couple of episodes. And I don't know. I've never read the books. Have any of you read the books?
I have not.
Just Hitchhiker's Guide, and it's wonderful.
Yes. So basically, everything in these first few episodes feels so jumbled, and you have no idea what's going on or why anything is happening. And that's because you have Dirk Gently as this character who he just flies from the seat of his pants and, just goes wherever, and then coincidences happen, and he can see connections in between things. But you have to give it 2 or 3 episodes, and then you'll start to see things come together, and you go, oh. And it's interesting. So it's kind of Doctor Who-esque in that you have this mysterious guy with a British accent who seems to be all-knowing and an absolute idiot at the same time, and dragging along a normal, and in this case, that normal is Elijah Wood.
Okay.
And basically involving Elijah Wood against his will into this adventure and into this. The first season is just one storyline, so it's just one case, and then on the side you have this lady who's the same sort of thing as Dirk Gently, where she flies by the seat of her pants and she sees connections between things and doesn't really know, and just goes like, okay, we should go right, whatever. I don't know why, but we're supposed to go right. Except for she's an assassin, and she actually kidnaps someone against their will and forces him to go along with her. And so it's interesting because you have these 2 separate storylines that are also kind of parallel to each other.
Similar dynamic, but the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and they do go a little bit heavy-handed sometimes. Like, you'll have Elijah Wood's character say a line, and then in the next scene, it's the assassin with a guy, and that guy says pretty much the exact same thing as that Elijah Wood just said. And so it's a little bit heavy-handed at times, but it's still appreciated. But I really liked it. It's only a 10-episode arc, so that's easy enough to get through. It's on Hulu.
It's digestible. I like that.
So if you liked watching Ford Prefect and...
Yes, it's very much like that, except for it's in America, so you only have the one British character. And then also, I have been playing Splatoon. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Splatoon. I saw what you did there.
Still not funny.
Okay. So I've been playing a lot of Splatoon 2. And it's a lot of fun. If you know the first Splatoon, you know what this is going to be, because it's very, 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 very similar. Except it does have a few new modes that are pretty awesome. There's one mode called Salmon Run, which is basically a horde mode. So if you're not familiar with what a horde mode is, it's you have 4 people and you're trying to just survive. But in this case, you also have these different boss types, and these bosses they'll come at you fast and unexpectedly, and you have to. And once you kill one of the bosses, then they drop these eggs, and then you have to go and deliver the eggs, and that's one of the things that you have to do to beat each round. And so it's hard. It gets really, really, really tough. And you're just in this small map, and you have all those Splatoon mainstays that, going through the ink to go faster as well as to reload, more or less. But it's a blast, and I really recommend it.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
And
one more?
And I've still watching My Hero Academia.
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching season 2 every week, and it's gotten better and better and better.
I can't wait to get caught up on that one. I only have seen the first 2 episodes, like I said earlier in the whole thing, and I was really loving it, so I'm going to keep going.
And then a few other shows have come back. People of Earth. If you've never watched People of Earth,
is it worth watching? Because
it's executive produced and I think partially written by Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
Oh dear.
And it has a cast full of character actors that like Anna Gasteyer and John H. Benjamin.
Oh. H. John Benjamin.
H. John Benjamin. Yeah, I always mix that up. But it's hilarious and wonderful. The thing that I love the most about it is there's this one of the aliens, because, you know, you do actually have aliens, and then you have this alien encounter survivor support group. And so one of the aliens, he's a gray alien, so, you know, the classic that you think of with, you know, the bulbous black eyes and all that. His name is Jeff. And when you have the alien part, it's basically a workplace comedy. Because, and he hates his job, which, of course, his job is kidnapping, probing humans.
Lovely.
So it's the traditional alien type.
And he hates his coworkers, and, oh, it's wonderful. But I love that. And Rick and Morty.
Oh my gosh.
Just came back.
Yes.
I love that.
It's been a long time waiting.
Yeah. We're sitting here, and I had a game night the other night, and one of the games that we played was Total Recall, which is a card game based on a Rick and Morty episode. And that show is amazing. It's vulgar as all get out. Mm-hmm. Do not let your kids anywhere near it. But watch it, because it is amazing, and it is hilarious, and it is clever.
I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, I don't know about this. And then was flipping by with like the 3rd season opener or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was really crazy. And I watched like the last third, and I was like, whoa, what is going on? Like, it was, yeah.
Well, it's Dan Harmon, so you know that he's going to be...
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, for example, this game, it's Total Recall, is what the game is called, and it's based on an episode where there are these parasites who invade the home where they live, and what the parasites do is they basically go into your memories and create backstories and memories of people who don't exist, as if you've known them your entire life. And so it's basically a matter of slowly their house gets filled with all these parasite creatures that they're trying to figure out, wait, who's real and who's actually a parasite? And then they find out, okay, well, parasites can only make good memories. So if I don't have any bad memories, then you're a parasite. And so of course they go on a shooting spree trying to think of who all is this or that. And then there's this little character, this little yellow guy, hoo-wee, Mr. Poopy Butthole.
You know, for kids. Not for kids. We established that part. We established that already.
But anyway, so after the slaughter, they're all just eating dinner, and Mr. Poopy Butthole is there, and it's like, hoo-wee, that was sure a great adventure, guys! And then you have Beth, who's the mom, looks at him for a second and then shoots him. Turns out that he's not a parasite. So he's just sitting there dying. And then the after credits scene, because they always have great after credits scenes. They're visiting the hospital, and they see Mr. Poopy Butthole in there doing some physical therapy, and he whispers something to the nurse. And the nurse comes out and says, he doesn't want to talk to you. He just wants to say that he's sorry that you don't have any bad memories with him. Anyway, so Rick and Morty, highly recommended, and third season has been great so far.
Wow. Okay, so with us tonight as well is Nate.
Nate, I haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, so
it feels good.
How you doing, Nate?
I'm doing well.
What have you been into for the last month?
The past month or 6 months? Or,
yeah, you know.
No, I'm just So, I'm just going to get this out of the way because I have a 6-year-old son. And for Christmas, for Black Friday, we bought Lagoon season passes. And those of you that don't know what Lagoon is, it's like a white trash Disneyland.
This is a fair assessment of Lagoon.
I think it's a white trash Six Flags.
Yeah,
making
probably.
their way up to Disney.
Yeah,
They've
they have
had a
mascots.
big roller coaster, couple since I've been last.
Yeah,
so
oh man,
you know.
they have a roller coaster called the Cannibal that's like amazing. It's so cool. And then my son, who's 6, can go on most of the big roller coasters. Just no fear whatsoever. And my 10-year-old nephew bawls his eyes out when we even like walk towards the general direction of a roller coaster. So I'm proud of my son for that. He's awesome. I got excited when Brady said Dirk Gently because I've downloaded it. I have it. I haven't watched it, but I went on the Kindle store and bought all of the 5 books of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
It's so good.
And that's what I've been doing, like, for free time if I'm not going out with my girlfriend.
Have you read them all before? Or?
No, well, it was funny. When I was in junior high school, I started noticing the number 42, like, everywhere. And I was like, this is so weird. So, like, I told my family, I'm like, that's 42's there again. So, anyways, when I was a sophomore in high school, I read it. And it gets to the chapter where it talks about 42 being the answer
to the ultimate question.
Yeah, but they don't know what the question is. And so I was like, holy crap, even this book notices 42 is like the biggest number.
Came to that one backwards, didn't
wait
you?
a minute.
And then, as I mentioned, I have a 6-year-old son. I'm going to see how many times you can say 6 words.
I mean, he's sitting right here.
Yeah,
so.
he's sitting here. Hey, Elliot, what's your favorite movie right now?
Spiderman?
That's the right answer.
That's the right answer, Stephen.
Hey,
it's the right answer.
Hey,
So anyway, been to the movies a bunch because I'm a film critic, and we saw Baby Driver, which was so good. The first 6 minutes of the movie are on YouTube, and it's one of the best car chase scenes I think I've ever seen.
oh my gosh.
The red Subaru.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baby Driver is, I don't know. I love that movie. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Didn't expect to like it as much as I did.
I've actually been listening to the soundtrack on Spotify all day today.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Right now I'd like to tell you about the amazing, most groovy Bell Bottoms. Bell Bottoms. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's so awesome.
So, for those who haven't seen the movie or don't know anything about it, Nate, do you want to
Just
describe
go.
the conceit real fast?
Basically, there's a younger kid. Well, he's not like young. He's in his early 20s, and he's a getaway driver for these bad guys that pull off heists. And things start to get more and more intense. Like, they wouldn't, like, kill anybody. They would just scare people and rob them. And then later on, Jamie Foxx comes in and starts murdering people. And he's like, oh, crap, I got to get out of this. And, yeah, it's about him trying to get out of this mob
Yeah.
heist company, and he ends up with the girl who played Cinderella and Elizabeth in
Lily James.
Yeah,
She was the cousin. I forget what her name is, but no, like not the cousin. Yes, she was a cousin. She was one of the ladies in Downton Abbey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I could watch her in any movie, anytime, and love it.
Because she is pretty.
Because she's really pretty.
But she's very good in the movie.
Yeah,
and
she
she was a
is.
great Cinderella too, and she was great in Downton Abbey. Let's just qualify. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's super pretty.
She's great.
We went. Of
So the
course,
big
we
thing,
saw-
sorry, the
Go
Baby
ahead.
Driver was something that I'd actually planned on talking about a little bit when we got to my turn. The thing about Baby Driver, the particular aspect of it that makes it so good is the soundtrack, because the soundtrack dictates all of the action.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand of the production of the movie, the soundtrack came first, and
Right.
then they choreographed the action scenes.
Yep.
And so all of the action scenes, and a lot of the non-action scenes as well, are choreographed to music.
Mm-hmm.
So, in particular, there's that Blur song in the middle, in
Mm-hmm.
a sequence where the tension is just building. It's this
Yeah.
piano melody that's repeated over and over, and it gets progressively faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
And all of the action speeds up
Mm-hmm.
with the tempo of the song, to the point where the window wipers are actually going at the speed
So
of the
cool.
song. It is
Yeah.
so good.
My
And it's
go ahead. Sorry.
the other thing that we got to say about this movie, because I was not interested in seeing it until I found this little tidbit out. It's Edgar Wright.
Mm-hmm.
That's reason enough right there.
Yep.
Yes, but I didn't know that. I just saw the trailer and thought, oh, this kind of looks dumb. Oh, wait, Edgar Wright is the director. He might be the best living working director. He's good at any rate. Okay, I'll see it. And I saw it, and it was great.
Going back with the music, I actually downloaded the 30-song album to it, and it's awesome. They got a lot of, I don't know, a lot of unheard, not really unheard, but just a little, just cult music, kind of. But one thing I love about what Steven was saying when they were, like, choreographing the movie to the music, my favorite part of the whole movie was at the beginning, and he's dancing down the street to go get some coffee.
Oh,
And
yes.
all of the words to the lyrics of the song are spray painted against the wall or like
On
signs.
posters.
Yeah,
It's in the
posters.
graffiti or something.
Yeah.
So many people that I've talked to who have seen the movie completely missed that. They
Yeah.
didn't know it was there.
See, I'd heard a review where they mentioned that, and I forgot about it, and then I noticed a word, and I was like, oh yeah, it's in the graffiti, and then the song lyrics popped up. So cool. I really liked when they start to hop out of the car for a heist, and he's like, oh wait, I gotta start the song over. And he starts the song over, and then they start the heist, and then he's perfectly into, like, different parts of the song. He spins the car across the street to be in a better position for them to come out of the bank or wherever they're robbing to get in the car and go, and it was just amazing action.
Yeah.
Amazing action.
I think it is Edgar Wright's most conventional movie.
You're probably right.
And then potentially as a result of that, it might be his quote-unquote worst movie. I don't know about that, because I actually haven't seen all of Edgar Wright's movies. And I actually do like it better than Shaun of the Dead, personally. But it's very conventional. It's more about style than substance, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I
Right.
actually love the style in this movie.
I thought, like, some of the dialogue wasn't the best.
Yeah.
I think John Hamm is a better actor than the level that his character gets to, but it was okay. And it was still, like, really awesome. And I don't know, there were better actors who I know can do better. Were kind of, I think, limited by the parts they were in, but at the same time, I still really loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is Edgar Wright, the director of it, he actually filmed a music video of people getting away from a heist and speeding out, and he's like, hey, maybe I could make this into some kind of movie.
Yep.
And so that's what he did. And like Quentin Tarantino said, don't do it, man. He's like, do not get your soundtrack. He goes, you got to film the movie and then put your soundtrack in. And he's like, nope.
Nope. I want to do it my way. And he did, and it was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. John, what have you been into for the last month?
Well, we just moved, and so that.
Fair.
We've been in the new place 2 weeks, and it's going well. But not a whole lot of geeky stuff. In the mornings, when I make breakfast, I watch Frajer. And I'm almost done.
I think Fraser counts as geeky. I think that counts.
If you're binging it, maybe. Like, I kind of am, slowly.
And I should know, I am Frajer.
I love 30 Rock so much. I should toss some. I should throw some tossed salad and scrambled eggs at you people. I've been watching Shetland on Netflix. It's a BBC crime show. If you like,
Any BBC crime show?
Yeah,
Because they're all
yeah.
kind of the same?
well, yeah.
I don't
If
get
you
me
like
wrong.
Foyle's War, which we've previously talked about,
Ooh, I do love
Shetland
me some
itches
Foyle's War.
Shetland scratches that same itch. There's some great acting on it. It's about the chief of police or the chief inspector, whatever his title is, in the Shetland Islands.
Okay.
And it's part of Scotland, but it's its own thing. There's some Norwegian influence, and they're all kind of out there. And it's a little slow at start, but then it's really good. And you get to know the characters better, and it's really enjoyable. The crimes are awful because it's a crime show. But
Yep.
That started watching The Last Tycoon on Amazon. It's pretty good. It kind of has a Mad Men feel to it a little bit. It's based off an F. Scott Fitzgerald story, and it's about a young Hollywood producer at a struggling studio, and it's set in the 30s, and they're just trying to keep the studio afloat and make hits, and it's all about the business of show business, and it was pretty interesting.
There's no business
Is
like
it
show
the
business.
one that actually does
no
have
business, I know.
Kelsey Grammer?
Yeah. Coincidentally,
Is that the one that actually has Kelsey Grammer?
Frajer. No, he plays the head of the studio. The main character is his protege, who plays the top producer at the movie studio, and is it Lily Collins? Yeah, she is the daughter of the head of the studio, and wants to become a movie producer, wants to be involved in it. And they've kind of all, they're trying to keep her away, but she actually has some talent, and so that's as far as I've gotten. But also, if you haven't been watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Netflix,
Oh my gosh.
I need to finish it, but I feel like I need to watch it with people and not by myself because it's more fun
Yes,
that way.
that's why I've stopped watching
Yeah.
it, is because I don't watch it with people.
Yeah.
My wife refuses to watch it with me, so
Why? That's
she's just not a
crazy.
fan.
It is one of those things where it's,
DIVORCE becomes final today.
Keep shooting me, prima mile, some
No, I'm proszę. Shoot it, sir.
I actually find it a joy. I love Mystery Science
Hey, this has been Reviews versus the World, brought to you by Rosetta Stone.
Where's Rosetta? Why isn't she here? Does she have something going on or what?
Rosetta. But Mystery Science Theater, watch that. I don't know. I feel like I should have been into more geeky stuff, but there hasn't been, like,
time with House and Baby. I think you're forgiven.
One thing I really think is cool about the Netflix Mystery Science Theater 3000 is when we were watching it in junior high and high school when it originally aired, like, they made comments about, like, movie stars or celebrities we don't really know too much. Yeah, way over your head. But the new Netflix show, all of the current events and culture is at our speed now. And I think it makes it a lot more fun.
Or maybe we caught up to them.
Yeah, sure. For that.
No, I actually, like, through movie jokes and stuff like that, that's how I learned about, like, a lot of people. Like, I didn't know who Ralph Nader was, for example, but learned from a Spiderman comic. So I, like, go the wrong way with all of those things. It's like, how do you know about the world around you? I have questions when I watch movies.
Pop culture osmosis, pretty much.
So, I would recommend those shows.
All right.
I'm getting very excited for what's coming out. I was going to say Dark Tower, but...
yeah. I may still see that.
I want to still see it, but I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to, like, wait until, like, it's the second movie at a drive-in, or if it's, a red box or something.
We'll need to see, because I'm going to talk about one of the things that I've seen recently, and that maybe... I don't know. In the last month, I've seen so many movies. I saw Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was really good. And, I saw Baby Driver, and it was really good.
Can I jump back in? I just forgot.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw Valerian.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
So I saw Valerian.
Yeah, sort of.
I saw Valerian.
I have not seen it.
Here's the thing about Valerian. Valerian is really bad.
Well,
and that's what makes
no. Yes, it's really bad. And no, it is not so bad it's good. It's just bad. It is badly scripted. It is badly acted. It is pretty badly directed.
Well, it's Dane DeHaan. You can't expect too much from him.
The plot is completely aimless, but it is the prettiest movie I have seen this whole dang year. And therefore... anybody comes up to me and they say, hey, should I see Valerian? I never really heard good things about it. I'm not really interested, but hey, if you tell me it's really good, I'll go see it. I'll be like, nope, do not see it. But if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, so I kind of want to see this Valerian movie. I don't know much about it. I'm curious about it, and I kind of want to see it, but I know you saw it. What do you think? I will say, you see it, and you see it now while it's in theaters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just that Fifth Element scratch.
It's worse than Fifth Element, though.
Yeah.
No. Significantly worse.
I don't know. Fifth Element isn't that great.
Yeah, Valerian is actively terrible, though.
The funny thing is, for me, is you talked about seeing Dark Tower's the second movie at the drive-in.
Oh, I went to Valerian?
I went to the drive-in last week and saw. What did we watch first? Despicable Me 3 and then Valerian. We watched all of Despicable Me 3 and it was fun. And all of a sudden, Valerian comes on. My son's jumping around in the car, going around. I bet you I only saw 7 minutes of that movie, and I can tell you what the whole thing's about and how terrible it really is.
Now, there are things in it that are pretty good. It's incredibly imaginative. One of the opening sequences is this heist that takes place in this bazaar, this market that is in an alternate dimension, and so there's like some weird cross-dimensional shenanigans.
I love that.
That's really good. If that had been the whole movie, I think I would have liked it better.
I think it's a good movie with a lot of bad crap in it.
I think it's a bad movie with a couple of good
a lot of good stuff in it. I don't know. It does that. It's that fine line between this is really awesome and I'm really enjoying this, and hey, this is kind of a bad movie, right?
Yeah.
Like good or bad, it's a bad movie. It's great. I would watch it. I would own it. I would watch it again in theaters. It was.
You liked it better than I did, then.
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining.
I acknowledge that there's a lot of
there's a lot of problems with
Dane
it.
Dane DeHaan I like. Chronicle was great. He was great in it. I think that he has a lot of potential. I want to see him in more stuff. He's doing a bad Keanu Reeves the entire movie. And it doesn't work for me. There's no chemistry between him and the girl. I like her.
I don't like her.
No chemistry whatsoever.
I have only seen 2 movies that she's in. They were Valerian and Suicide Squad. And those are... Suicide Squad is one of the worst... Like, I do not have a good impression of this woman, unfortunately.
Well, weird casting.
Weird casting,
and maybe that's...
Rihanna is in
casting.
it, and she's bad.
Her whole character has no
She's
real reason to
bad.
be there.
She's hot.
Almost had a reason. Okay, but she's a shapeshifter, and she's not, like, she doesn't look like Rihanna for most of the movie.
Right.
Like, there's a sequence where she's in it and she's dancing, and that's actually kind of, like, you can see why Rihanna's a performer, because she's good at it. But, I don't know. I can't in good conscience recommend people see Valerian, unless they already kind of want to, in which case I say go now, because it's really pretty, and if the visuals are so good that they deserve to be seen on the big screen.
And this is an adaptation of a comic where there could be sequels, and I hope there are, because they spent a whole ton of money on it. If it does internationally, that's becoming more and more of a factor.
Oh, that's
Plus,
true.
Luc Besson is French. He's
could do
a
very
foreign
well.
director, so he might just say, screw it, I don't care how it does in Hollywood or how it does in America.
It's also an adaptation of a French comic.
Yeah,
So
but he made it like specifically an English-speaking film, so it would have a wider audience.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have high hopes for it. But like I say, it's worth seeing at least a little bit. If you're at all interested in the good visuals. It's like Avatar. Everybody raved about the visuals and the story was kind of lackluster. To me, Valerian's very similar to that. But I actually think Valerian's better than Avatar.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Avatar is Fern Gully. Avatar is Dances with
Valerian
Wolves.
is at least trying to do some new things. It's not necessarily doing them very well.
The best part, I think, was the market.
No, that market sequence absolutely is worth the price of admission on its own. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I wanted to mention, other than Baby Driver, which we already talked about at length, I've been listening to a podcast that I have absolutely been enjoying to pieces.
The Reviews versus the World?
Yes.
I've been listening to two podcasts.
Don't lie, you don't listen to our podcast.
So I've been listening to a podcast called The Adventure Zone. The Adventure Zone is I think they call it a live play podcast. It's a bunch of people who get together around a microphone and they play Dungeons and Dragons or some other role-playing game. The people who are doing this are the McElroy brothers, who you may know from YouTube shows like Monster Factory or their other podcast, My Brother, and Me. It's just three brothers, adult brothers, who have just this really witty rapport with each other, and they are playing Dungeons and Dragons with their dad. The youngest brother is the dungeon master, and they're going on these really crazy adventures, and the entire time they've got this banter going back and forth. They're frequently very crass. This podcast has the little explicit tag on it for a reason. But yes, they drop a lot of F-bombs.
I didn't recognize what that was.
Oh my gosh. So, to paint the picture, Nate is wearing a shirt that has the letter F, waving a cowboy hat over its head, and riding on a bomb, Dr. Strangelove style.
That's Slim Pickens.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty amazing.
$6.
So with the Adventure Zone, I actually, I don't really do a lot of role-playing. I have actually been playing a little bit of Dungeons & Dragons recently, trying it out to see if I like it. But I'm very fluent in Dungeons & Dragons, and so, I picked it up because I kind of like the McElroy brothers, their projects. And the Adventure Zone is really funny, but it's also really engaging. The adventures that they've been on so far, I don't want to go into too much detail. The first one was a very standard dungeon crawl. The second one was a murder mystery on a train. I think it was the third one that was the third one was the Mad Max Return to Thunderdome style, automobile, twisted metal arena, crazy stuff. The fourth one was an adventure on a moon base. And the current one is a Groundhog's Day style adventure where they keep repeating the same hour over and over again, trying to prevent the end of the world.
Groundhog Day. Yay.
And so it's... The thing about the Adventure Zone that really puts it over the top for me, though, is actually the character work. And this is going to tie into one of our topics a little bit later on in the podcast. They did an episode in between some of these story arcs where they just followed each of the three main characters on their day off. And they explored the personal lives of these characters and the personal lives of some of the recurring NPCs. And they did it in a Dungeons & Dragons style format where they were just talking back and forth. They didn't do too many, saving throws or
I was going to
ability
ask about
checks.
that because I heard like the Incomparable did an episode where they were playing D&D, and all of the inside baseball of it kind of put me to sleep. I wanted to but they were like, okay, now let's divvy up the loot, and it's like.
So there are moments like that because in between each story arc they do an episode that is sort of this catch up, and they typically do a lot of the leveling up there. Okay. Part of what elevates this is the banter between the brothers and the dad. They are funny people.
Is the dad the guy from the D&D meme that keeps showing up?
I don't believe so. No.
Oh, okay.
He kind of looks like that guy.
I was trying to connect all of my worlds together.
Yeah. But also, I believe this is the first time for a lot of these guys actually playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
Oh.
And so...
is that the one, the good one from Stranger Things?
No, the Stranger Things is going to be 2nd edition, if not 1st edition. But anyway, I do recommend The Adventure Zone. It's funny. It's a lot of fun. It has dominated almost all of my listening time recently. And I think that's going to do it. So the topic for today, if you haven't read the title of this episode, we're going to talk about a particular television show much loved by everyone in this room, to the point where we actually did one of our rare and infrequent video reviews on this show. We're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yay!
We're going to take a break here in a minute, because we have to take a break, because I need to get me some water. But before we do, I wanted to take just a minute. Oh, we have bottles of water. The thud you just heard was Brady's palm hitting his forehead when he... No, it was actually him slamming the bottle of water down on the table. But anyway, so let's just get into it then. In preparation for this episode, I asked that everyone watch a selection of episodes from Avatar: The Last Airbender. But then, when we all gathered, we kind of realized that we've all already seen the whole show. So we don't necessarily need to go into an episode-by-episode recap of the show, of the specific episodes that we picked. But just in the interest of... providing some continuity for maybe people who haven't seen the show. The reason I selected the episodes I did is because they give a pretty good summation of what the show's about, who some of the major characters are, and does a lot of the real good character work. So the episodes... He
says episodes. We really just watched the Ember Islands players. And got the whole story from that.
The single best recap episode in any television show.
I like that the character Sokka takes tips from the real Sokka. His jokes get laughs on stage, and Toph is a big dude.
Yeah, speaking of inside baseball, we've really dived into the end of the series right now, haven't we?
The good guys win. Ooh, spoiler!
Yep.
As if there was any other ending. Anyway.
So, for those who may not know, Avatar: The Last Airbender it takes place in this world that is divided into 4 tribes, or 4 nations. Each of the nations is characterized by, and to some extent has mastery over, one of the 4 classic elements. So
Earth, fire, air.
So close.
Oh, water, air. Yeah.
Wind.
That's wind. Okay.
Wait, air, wind, air. Oh.
You were about to say all this anyway. I'm just going to sit over here.
Oh, geez, we're just going to play the whole thing?
My grandmother used to tell me stories about
Oh, you got the episode 1 version. Stop it. Okay, so 4 nations. The Fire Nation becomes the aggressor and goes to war with the rest of the world, tries to conquer the whole world, actually drives the Airbenders completely to extinction. The Air Nomads are no more. Now, this culture has a particular mythical figure called the Avatar, who has the ability to master all 4 elements. His role is to maintain balance in the world. The Avatar has been missing forever. Turns out he was a little boy that was trapped in an iceberg, and he's been unfrozen, which is why he wasn't around during this whole war. And now he has to go through the whole world, master all of the different elements. He only knows how to airbend at the beginning of the show, and defeat the Fire Lord and save the world. And that's the high concept of the show. And that really sells it very short, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So, along the way, he gathers several allies. He starts off by gathering this brother-sister pair from the water tribes in the South Pole. One of them is a powerful waterbender, and the other one is a goof.
Comic relief.
He's
Kara!
I don't know, can you have comic relief when everybody's got their moments of comedy?
Well, he is arguably the funny one.
He's arguably the funny one, but everybody is funny.
That's his role, at least. Like, watch Sokka's master. They don't know what to do with themselves without him.
It's kind of true.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also pick up an earthbender somewhere along the way, and we'll absolutely talk more about her as we start getting into more of the specifics. All while they are traveling through the world, they are being chased by the banished prince of the Fire Nation, who has made it his life's duty, for various reasons, to capture the Avatar and return him to his father, the Fire Lord. And so, with that sort of broad recap in mind, I think we can start talking about the specific elements of the show. And we'll start with the first discussion question, which is, what is it about this silly show for tiny babies that makes it so special?
I can tell you that.
Okay, John.
Cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
I'm supposed to just say this part right here.
Oh, my cabbages!
That's what makes it so great.
Yeah, okay, so what makes it so great is the cabbage version.
First of all, I should clarify, do not see the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
No.
It is awful.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, good.
I've never heard of this thing that doesn't exist.
So this came out when I was in college, and everybody I was in drawing classes with was obsessed with this movie. One night a week we would get together and do gesture drawing, where you're just doing quick poses. And everyone takes turns. Like one of the people would like do different airbending forms. So each nation has its own one. You know, the Earth Nation can control Earth, and the Fire Nation controls fire, and so forth. And so they have different styles of martial arts to move these elements. Now, I forgot my art of the Avatar book, which is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I'm really
I
mad
have
at
that
myself.
book too.
I set it aside specifically last week, and then we moved to this week, and I just left it at home. And I was either today like gathering everything up, like, okay, do I have everything? And it's amazing how it all came together, and there's tons of great information in there, as well as art, of course. Mm-hmm. But the whole style of the show, it's like you bring Eastern style and culture to a Western audience.
Yes.
The concept, the Avatar is, this figure is born into a different, there's reincarnation, and so previously the Avatar was from the Fire Nation. When he died, he was reborn into the Air Nomads, and then the next cycle, with the next series after this one, is about the next Avatar, who is from the Water Tribe. It's very interesting how they have, you know, mirrors in our world, I guess you could say. The Air Nomads are similar to Buddhist monks, and you have the Water Tribe, which are similar to native people in like Inuit people, but then you also have other like the swamp benders who, you know, live in a swamp and they move the water and vines around and use it that way. It shows that kids can do great things. It shows personal reasons behind political struggles. It shows there are good guys and bad guys on either side in any conflict. There were people who were on the good guys' side fighting against the Fire Nation who were bad guys and doing bad things, you know, like the Tai Li or the general from the opening of the second season who was trying to force Aang into the Avatar state. You know, he was not really going about winning the war in the best way. And then you have, you know, the Iroh. I'm just going to say Iroh because he's the best.
General Iroh.
It's I don't know. There are similar things, you know, parallels. But I feel like it's unique in its own world and its own story. That's something I hadn't seen before. You know, similar things you could tie parallels to other stories and other shows even. But I don't know, I love it, and it's a great world they're in.
I would say the thing that makes Avatar so special to me is the world building. Mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for a good magic system.
That's why you're a Brandon Sanderson.
That's why I'm a. That's why
only Brandon Sanderson fans use the term magic system. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
This is actually like the more like watching it after reading Mistborn, I was like, oh, there's a lot of similarities. You know,
I was going to bring that up a little bit later on.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
But anyway, but really, even when you have. So the problem sometimes when you have strict rules for a magic system like you have here, or like you have in a lot of Sanderson's books, is eventually you get to a point where it's like, oh, I wish I could do something more. But when you find ways to expand on it, they can make sense. And Avatar does this so well in taking water bending. Yes, it can do water, but guess what else you got some power.
Well, we just mentioned the swamp benders who controlled the water in the vines, and they extend it even further than that.
Yeah, which I'm not going to ruin because that's a
great moment.
That is a great moment.
That is a great moment
and a great episode. And then you have the Earthbenders where they get into some things that really expand it and push on it while still making sense and while still having boundaries. And that I can really appreciate. And then you take the world itself, and you have these different tribes who definitely all have their own identity. But within those nations, you also have economies, you have worlds, and everything feels lived in. Everything feels real. And that's not something that you get with a lot of kids shows, even ones that try to add a little bit of character into their world. But Avatar pulls it off so well.
It really does. Nate, what are your thoughts?
Oh, God. I've probably rewatched the series 5 times. I love it. I love, General Iroh.
General Iroh is my favorite character.
Yeah, we'll talk about characters in just a minute.
He's awesome, but I have a friend who was really into it, and this is before I watched it, and he's like, you should watch Avatar, The Last Airbender. I'm like, I'm not going to watch some stupid American martial arts ninja thing. And
ninja thing.
And
I
then
love it.
My friend was like, here, I have the first season, just watch 5 or 6 episodes, and if you're not into it, then I'll leave you alone about it. So I got past episode 3, and I was like, I have to watch this, and I just binged the whole first season like in one day, and I couldn't wait to get to the next one. And like, anyway, it's just amazing. Like Brady said, like everything seems like there's worlds and they're lived in, and some are powerful and some are broken down places, and God, it's just a really great show. One sad thing is I gave my nephew the first season as a birthday present, and he went, and threw it aside.
He'll come back to it later.
Have him watch King of Amashu. Skip the first few and go to King of Amashu.
But,
that's actually not bad advice.
That's the Boomy one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they mentioned...
So
well,
awesome.
maybe it's Boomy. We don't know.
Yeah.
I will love that. Well, that was the first one that I saw, like, any part of, and I was like, okay, people have been talking about this show, and it might be worth... It's not just a kiddie show, because I thought it was just a little kid show, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But then, they mentioned in the making of... They're like, oh yeah, King of Amashu, that kind of shows our, problems we were having in the first season, and I was like, what? It's awesome. I love that episode.
So here's the thing. In preparation for this podcast, I actually started rewatching everything from the beginning, and I was noticing the first couple of episodes are not great.
Yeah, while you're here, let me actually just talk a little bit about where I came from with this show, because I started watching it, and then stopped. Because the first several episodes aren't good, like you say.
They're slow.
They're very, very slow. Yeah, that's fair. I shouldn't say they're not good. But, yeah, I actually had to sit down and get myself to watch Avatar 3 times before I could really get the momentum I needed to go through the whole thing. And the first couple of episodes, like we said, were slow. That was the second time I actually tried to watch it. The first time, a friend of mine showed me an episode in isolation. And it's now one of my favorite episodes, and it's a fan favorite, but the first time I watched it, it didn't say anything to me. And this was an episode called, I think it's called Secret Tunnel? I think that's the name of the episode!
Secret tunnel through the mountains, secret tunnel. Okay, there's a road next by my old apartment. There are 2 apartments ago now. There was a road next to the highway that nobody ever used, that you could exit off the highway and go along this road and, like, save yourself, like, 3 traffic lights to get to my apartment. And so every time I drove on it, I'd go, Secret Tunnel! Secret Tunnel! How does that song end? Oh, yeah. And die. It's a wonderful episode.
It's really good, but if you don't know the characters,
Yeah.
some of the stuff that makes it so good and so engaging doesn't really stick. I mean, it's very broad comedy, but as we've kind of talked about before, broad comedy isn't something that's going to necessarily engage me on its own.
Right.
So I think I want to get to this question, and then we'll start moving on. Like, what to me makes Avatar so special? I really love a lot of the stuff that John touched on, and you only touched on it. I don't think we can do justice to everything that goes on in this show in the time that we've got.
Nope.
But in particular, it's the way that it honestly explores the emotions of the people involved. Like, there are no really pure good guys, because everybody does kind of bad stuff throughout the show. And with one exception, there's no pure bad guy. The Fire Lord's a bit of a
Yeah, he's a pure bad guy.
yeah, he's just pure evil. But like that,
Well, he is played by Mark Hamill.
he is played by Mark Hamill in full Joker mode.
Actually, Jason, he's a pure bad guy.
Yeah, Jason Isaacs'
Which
character's
is great.
a pure
We're
bad
talking
guy
about.
too.
We have this character, Admiral Zhao. He's kind of, you know who he's like? He's like Jason Isaacs in The Patriot. We should get somebody like that. Well, why don't we get Jason Isaacs? And they do! And he's a great character!
Yeah, he really is. But, like, the thing that really grabs me about the show is the way that it handles a lot of very complicated situations in a way that is digestible for children. And it's not afraid to be very sincere. Like, the characters, because they're children, they don't have a lot of guile. They do, of course, lie, and they try to conceal things. But they're very, very, very sincere, and they sincerely feel things. And there are these really high highs and these really low lows. And it comes in this fairly, standard sort of adventure story. And it makes me think of this quote from director Patty Jenkins, who recently did this movie you might have heard of called Wonder Woman. In an interview, she was asked a question, and the questioner said, this may be a cheesy question, but... And I don't think the rest of the question really matters, because Patty Jenkins jumps in and says, did you say cheesy? Cheesy is one of the words banned in my world. I'm tired of sincerity being something we have to be afraid of doing. It's been like that for 20 years, and she goes on, and it's a pretty solid point, and one that I could bring up in other discussions that we don't want to have right now because we got to focus on Avatar. But I think that's one of the things that I like about Avatar. It's cheesy in the sense that it's very, very sincere. And there's this emotional sincerity to it, not just to the plot happenings, but to the characters themselves. They're conflicted, they're hurt, they're angry, they're sad, they're insecure, they're brave, there's so much going on with these characters, and they're all just there, and it's unapologetic. And I love it so much.
That's what makes the show stand out, is the character.
Yeah. And I would never call Avatar: The Last Airbender cheesy, because cheesy to me is Danny Tanner sitting down one of his girls.
Oh, when the music starts.
And the music
playing.
starts up.
Oh.
That is cheese. That is not sincere.
Okay, Brady, I want to point out real fast that there is an episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender called The Guru, which is literally just Danny Tanner sitting down with Aang for 22 minutes.
That's true.
Except he says, chakra, chakra, the whole time.
Drink this banana and onion juice and forgive yourself. Yeah,
and then Uncle Joey comes in, and Uncle Jesse says, have mercy.
In this metaphor, Uncle Joey is Sokka.
That somehow fits.
It does, it does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, on that note, why don't we actually go ahead and segue into favorite characters. And we'll kind of go round table, but everybody's welcome, of course, to chime in. So why don't we go in the reverse direction and start with John?
Toph is the best character on this show. That is a fact. That is not an opinion. Toph is the best character. I don't really need to say more because she's the best, but I will.
You absolutely do, because there may be people who are listening to this who haven't actually seen the show and who don't even know who Toph is.
As good as the first season is, wait till you get to the second season because you get some Toph goodness. So, the first season deals with Aang learning how to waterbend. He has to learn the different elements in order, really, to master them. So he learns how to waterbend. He saves the Water Tribe. He defeats Admiral Zhao, who's the kind of
Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs, the villain of the season, because the overall villain is the Fire Lord, but he's not going to be chasing him every week. And that's why Zuko was invented when they were working out the story, and he actually becomes one of the most compelling characters.
Yes.
Second season, Aang goes back to his to a king who is a great earthbender named Boomy, and Boomy can't help him learn earthbending. So he says, this is the type of teacher you need to look for. And then they go to Earth Rumble. Earth Rumble 6. Yeah! Now you're remembering why Toph's the best.
Yeah.
It's basically pro wrestling for earthbenders.
Not
so
basically.
It's pro wrestling for earthbenders. All these big guys come out and they're hurling rocks at each other. They all have different outfits and costumes.
There's
and
a
personas.
character named The Boulder.
The Boulder wants to crush you.
Who was supposed to... He was supposed to have been voiced by...
Randy Macho Man Savage?
No, he was supposed to have been voiced by The Rock.
Oh!
Really?
Yeah, but they couldn't get The Rock, so they got a different professional wrestler instead. I don't remember who it was.
I'm going to look it up. But they go thinking, okay, well, we're going to find somebody who's good here. And all of the guys are the Boulder beats everybody. And then they're like, okay, here's our reigning champion, the Blind Bandit. And this little girl comes out. And she's in her little hat. And she's straight up blind. And they're like, is she really blind? No, that's part of her character. No, guys, I think she is blind. And they're watching, and she whoops him, the Boulder, very quickly.
Yeah,
and
quite
then
soundly.
grabs her belt and leaves. So they find out that she is the daughter of this noble family, and she's kept her amazing earthbending skills secret because her family, specifically her father, is really protective of her and doesn't want her to get into any trouble and doesn't want anything bad to happen to her because she is blind and she's helpless and she can't do anything. Well, because she's blind, she uses her abilities to see. She can feel vibrations. She can tell if someone's lying. She can, sense people coming from miles away. She can sense little ants moving around. And she's not really at a disadvantage. Toph is a great character because she's not weakened by her disability. She is tough, she's powerful, she's independent, she's an anti-Aang. Aang is an earthbender and opposed to the...
Aang is an airbender.
Airbender. And opposed to the earthbender because he's, free and he dodges things and earthbenders take things head on. And so she, in many ways, is the anti-Aang. And he has to master what she has already mastered in order to move on and become the hero that's going to save the day. I just love Toph. She's funny. She's tough. She's doesn't take any crap from anybody.
Yeah.
It's interesting, her dynamic in the group, because she wants to be really independent, and they all work together in nice harmony, but...
yeah.
So...
she's amazing. Toph is the best.
Toph is so good, guys.
Go ahead.
So there is a follow-up series to Avatar: The Last Airbender,
which I have never seen any of those episodes.
And it's The Legend of Korra,
Okay.
and Toph is there, and old crazy grandma Toph is even better.
Really? Okay, I haven't seen any of those episodes.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And absolutely insane and wonderful, and she makes me smile.
Well, she discovers she's an earthbender, but she's really good at it, obviously. But nobody at that time can bend metal. So if you put someone in a metal box, they're stuck. They can't get out. Well, she figures out how to metal bend, and so in the next series, which is a generation later, all of the cops in this city are metal benders, and they can, nobody else can bend metal, so they can throw handcuffs on anybody. They can whip around on, Spiderman coils and stuff, and it's really awesome. And they know the head of the police is her daughter, and it's really cool to see the world building again, how the ideas can evolve into okay, what happens in the next generation in a world like this. You get pro bending, that kind of thing. But we're not talking about Korra. We're talking about the original series.
Yeah, but I mean, you bring up a really good point with the contrast between Toph and Aang, because that's how deep this rabbit hole goes. Mm-hmm. The Airbenders are like the wind; they are very fluid. They move very easily. They adjust to things very easily. And the Earthbenders are very rigid and very stubborn and very obstinate. And that's just a synonym for stubborn. But
she's so stubborn.
She's so stubborn. Yeah. It's so good. And so that contrast between the two of them, and Toph needing to teach Aang how to be stubborn and resilient so that he can earthbend, it's really very nuanced and very, very clever. So good.
Mick Foley is the guy.
Mick Foley, that's right. I knew it was not the Rock wrestler.
Older.
Yeah, pretty great. So yeah, Nate.
How deep are we going? Like spoilers and stuff? Are we trying?
The show is over 10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can talk about.
The finale was 9 years ago. It's 2005, 2008. Yeah, spoil the heck out of it.
Okay.
We are spoiling everything.
Okay, I love Aang and Katara and Zuko. I love all those people. But my favorite part of the show is Prince Zuko. because he goes from hating the Avatar. He's like he finally catches him, and then his dad lets him come back into the kingdom after being banished, but then his dad's still a jerk.
Yes.
And so Zuko goes away and gets Aang out of there, and then the guy that's been chasing him all 3 seasons is like, teach me, I want to join you guys and fight against my father.
I can teach you firebending.
Yeah, and not only that, but man, the fighting.
Oh.
Holy cow, like...
Well, Zuko has the best character arc, I just wanted to say that before.
Absolutely has the best character arc,
Well,
to the point where...
I absolutely love, and it's one of the episodes that you were going to have us watch, when the first time that you really see Zuko for who he is the Blue Spirit.
Oh,
yeah.
Zuko gets some of the best episodes. I'm not gonna like
Zuko alone is really good.
Zuko alone is really good. That's where I actually thought you were gonna go for a minute. But Zuko is, in my opinion, the best character in the show. I know that
based on their character arc.
That's actually the distinction. I love Toph. Toph is great and
Toph
wonderful.
is best, and everyone else is second place.
I think Zuko, though, with the growth that he goes through, where he's brought so low, and his lowest point happens to be when he gets everything he thinks he wanted.
Yeah.
There's just so much sophistication and maturity in Zuko's story arc. But more than that, there's really brilliant performance from an actor who I always assumed.
Oh, I ruined your moment.
You did. You did. Yeah.
I thought everyone was going to join in saying Rufio.
Way to piddle on it.
Here, we can edit this out.
Zuko is voiced by Dante Bosco, who played Rufio. In Hook.
Oh.
And I always assumed that Dante Bosco was a fairly limited actor. I'd never seen him in anything other than Hook. But no, he brings so much depth and pathos to the character.
Well, one thing that I find amazing about Zuko also is that he wants so much to be back with his father, and his sister takes his place instead, and she becomes who he's fighting against, and they have this duel that
yes.
the finale duel.
Oh, so
it's
good.
So awesome, but you hate Zuko, and then as you start seeing him becoming lighter and lighter, all of a sudden you start really loving this character who's been searching for love and acceptance his whole life, pretty much. And
then when he gets rid of the stupid ponytail, okay, he's
yeah.
That's another point for the second season.
Yeah, he's so good. But yeah, you talk about the fight choreography. One of the things that I think elevates Avatar: The Last Airbender above other cartoons is just the level of fluidity in the animation for these fight sequences. Avatar is one of the only shows that I have all 3 seasons on DVD and have watched all of the bonus features, and I have read all of the supplemental material I could get my hands on. If you are a fan of the sort of art of the movie or art of the series books that Disney puts one out for each of their movies, there are a lot of these that have been put out for different television shows. The one for Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think, is hands down the best.
I'd have to agree.
It's such a good book. But anyway, so in going through all of the supplementary material, you see how much work went into the fight sequences. They had, what was his name? Master Sifu?
Sifu means master.
Well, no, there was, I don't remember his name. Sifu, they named a character after him in the show, and I cannot remember.
I can tell you.
Anyway, so they had a martial arts consultant who was brought in to help develop the different martial arts styles for each of the different kingdoms, and they would go in to this gym and they would fight. They would have him and one other person actually go through a lot of the choreography, and the reference artists would sit there and just sketch them as they fought.
Sifu Kisu,
who
they modeled Master Paku, the sword master.
Yes, okay, that's how it went.
That's an excellent episode, Sokka's master.
Oh, it's so good.
Because he doesn't bend, and so he feels kind of worthless, and so he gets himself a sword. And he finds a sword master who's like, you could teach me how to use the sword. And they're in the Fire Nation, and so it's they might get found out, and he's learning how to sword fight, and but yeah, they consulted this guy, and so each bending style is different. I forget exactly which martial art they're based on.
Oh yeah, I
They're all
wouldn't
different,
even be able.
They
to
are
tell
distinct. You can watch them throughout, and you can see like a character starts to move, and you're like, oh, they're bending this. Oh, they're doing that. Oh, this is the type of move, and like the whole mindset of the people, even and the types of characters. The Earthbenders are a little more stubborn. The Waterbenders kind of they can deal with change, that kind of thing, and they use their opponent's strength against them, that kind of thing. It's really cool, the amount of, because they could have just been like, I can shoot rocks at you, I can shoot water at you, blah blah, but they didn't. Yeah,
and that very thing is what ties in so strongly with Zuko, and one of the things that makes Zuko such a great character, and one of the things that contributes so much to his growth, because as a member of the Fire Nation, Zuko is angry and impulsive. And again, this sounds a little bit like racial profiling, which is
they're cartoon characters.
We'll talk about this a little bit more later on. Zuko very much embodies the what would probably be the stereotypes of the Fire Nation, and he overcomes so many of them, and it's so beautiful to watch it.
You know who doesn't embody the?
Is this going to be your favorite character, Brady? Is this going to be your favorite character?
It's Iroh.
Oh! Iroh's so good,
so
guys.
Iroh is absolutely amazing, because you're introduced to him, and right away you're like, what's with this befuddled old guy just wanting tea instead of actually taking care of things? And then you start to learn more and more about him, and you start to see him. I think that the first time when watching it, when I realized just how amazing he was, is when he was captured and they were taking him to Ba Sing Se.
Oh man,
this is in one of the 2-part episodes that I was recommending that we watch, and a lot of it is because of the character work that's done with Iroh.
Yeah,
this is the Winter Solstice Part 1,
yes.
I believe.
And basically, you find out, because you just think, who is this? Who is this guy?
Why is he just this goofy old man? Because he doesn't
dispensing wisdom, but not really being paid attention.
Exactly.
Not one to take seriously, because he's Zuko's comic relief.
Yeah,
he's just playing Pai Sho.
And then you find out about him as a general in that episode, and how he failed against Ba Sing Se. He failed in that siege of the city, and just his reaction of, my men needed supplies. We needed to take care of them. I admit defeat, and it was just this moment of, he is a good person. He might be fighting in this war, and he may have been fighting on the wrong side, but he is a good person. my analog to him is in Final Fantasy VI, General Leo.
Huh. Okay, that's a fair analog. That's a fair comparison.
Zuko, why don't you come join me in this hot spring? I've warmed it myself.
And he breathes like fire and steam into it. It's pretty.
This is either the jasmine flower, which makes the most delicious tea, or a very poisonous flower, which will paralyze me. Don't eat it. Oh, he comes back later. I was wrong about that flower.
Breaking out.
So, and you have he's very much this comic relief character, and then you have what I would consider actually the best episode of the show, and that's Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
See,
Oh my gosh! Oh my
I
gosh!
like
oh my gosh.
his part of that. I don't like that episode.
You don't need to like anything else about it. That's his episode.
It's his moment that makes this entire series for me. And I'm not going to say more about it, because I know that we're going to have people who have not watched it, but
we're going to talk about it, though, because we were talking about favorite scenes. That's the very next discussion item, and actually we're just going to move on to it.
Okay.
We're going to talk about favorite scenes now. So why don't we go ahead... Okay, the reason that I brought up, that in particular, I made it a point to bring up the episode of the Adventure Zone, where you spent a bit of time with each of the characters in between adventures, is because that's what Tales from Ba Sing Se is, or Tales of Ba Sing Se is. You spend a little bit of time with each of the characters doing something completely unrelated to their mission.
Ba Sing Se is the big Earth Kingdom city. It's a series of walls. There's an inner city, there's a middle part, there's an outer city. Big, huge walls that the Fire Nation can't get through.
And there's been a lot of, through just a bunch of different circumstances, our main characters are there, the good guys, Aang, his two friends from the Water Tribe, Katara and Sokka, and Toph. They're all there, and completely for unrelated reasons, Zuko and Iroh are there, but they're undercover and in disguise because they're enemy combatants in a foreign land, and they're just trying to blend in with the population.
Opening a tea shop?
Opening a tea shop. Zuko goes on his first date.
Oh, man. I forgot about that.
Oh, wow.
And Iroh.
Oh,
In a... Oh, my gosh. Brady, you were bringing this up. You go ahead and tell it.
No, I have a mouthful of chips.
Well, why are you eating crunchy chips
I'll
on,
just start
on an
singing
audio
the Bossing Say song
podcast?
he's talking about.
Brave soldier boy comes marching home. Brave little soldier boy comes marching home.
You have to say it like Mako.
Yeah, we haven't touched on that.
He's
Mako
amazing.
died actually during the production of this show, but he was a voice actor, very, very distinct voice. He did Splinter in one of the Ninja Turtle cartoon movies.
He was the Nobel Prize-winning Japanese economist who, on an episode of The West Wing, that President Bartlett didn't like because they disagreed on many things, but he was very funny in that episode. Sorry, that's my only other Mako connection.
He's just such a lovely, lovely presence on this show, and after he dies, they change the voice. You can tell if you know what happens, otherwise it's pretty good.
But they do it at a point when his character
Isn't talking
for a couple of episodes, and so I think they did the best they could.
Oh, yeah.
With that happening. But tell us about Tales of Bossing Say.
I might just cry.
I know, right? So, Tales of Bossing Say,
Sorry.
Brady.
Okay, so it's actually been a little while since I've watched it, but yeah, the part that gets me is the song but. Sorry,
let's back up a little bit.
Let's back up.
They're in Bossing Say. What happened with Iroh, he was besieging Bossing Say as the head of the army of the Fire Nation. If they broke through Bossing Say, the war was going to be over, because it was really the last stronghold. And everything else is just, yeah. Well, his son was also fighting, and his son died in the war. And after that, it kind of broke his spirit, and maybe that's when he decided to, he turned, and he's really a good guy. And you can see him guiding Zuko in the whole series, and ultimately at the end of the second season, really pushing him into making the right decision. Mm-hmm. And Zuko turns away from him and goes back to the Fire Nation, and it really breaks his heart.
So,
but before that,
so in this episode, you see him, and you're not quite sure exactly what's happening, but he's preparing something.
He's just going through town. He's running some errands. Runs into this thief who tries to hold him up in a back alley, and he teaches him some martial arts techniques instead of letting himself get robbed, and the guy really wants to be a botanist or something crazy. Comes across this family, this mom who's struggling to get her child to quiet down, and he just grabs an instrument and starts singing this cute little soldier song that I sang a little bit ago.
And then it ends, and you find out that these errands that he's been running, it's basically to get things together, and it turns out that it's his late son's birthday.
Uh-huh.
And
his son is there in the sense that he was at the Battle of Ba Sing Se and died, and he goes to visit his grave.
So right there, and it's not like Iroh could always be in Ba Sing Se.
Right.
But you have, he happens to be there where all of this happened, and it happens to be on his son's birthday. And he basically has a little memorial service and then sings that Soldier Boy song again and just breaks down into tears.
I'm sorry, you said that Soldier Boy song, and I'm like, Soldier Boy, tell him off!
And the moment is gone. We can move on to the next
different song.
Oh.
That's a different song.
But seeing some of my favorite scenes, like the finale of the second season, where it's is there a nicer way to say Mexican standoff?
Not really, unfortunately.
Okay. A three-way standoff between,
That's what they
Azula?
do.
Azula, thank you. My brain was just like...
Azula is Zuko's sister.
Azula, I mean, parts of her are cool, but really she's more of a force of nature than a character.
Yeah.
She's just bad things happening, and her sidekicks are dumb. Anyhow, yeah, it's between
Azula.
Azula.
I thought you liked this show, John.
I do like
I
this
thought
show.
you liked this show.
It's been a long day. Azula. And Zuko. And Iroh. And Aang. And Katara. What is that? That needs to be a different name. That's a five-way standoff. Is it like a Czechoslovakian standoff? I don't know. That was the first country that sounded funniest. Anyway.
Also not a country anymore, but go on.
I know!
I'm all about ruining the moments today. Go on.
So, Iroh is trying to get Zuko to make the right call. Azula is saying, hey, you can come back home and get everything you've always wanted. And Aang is in this really cool rock suit. But it's just those episodes in the beginning of the beginning of the third season, seeing Iroh in prison and still trying to, tell Zuko, trying to guide him in the right path. It's just, it's amazing seeing that relationship between them. And like going back, this is a kids show.
Yes.
But they get, it's that sincerity. But like, I would never even think to call that cheesy at all because of the way that it's handled so well.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that with the characters that this one actually makes me really sad is Sokka falls in love with a girl at the end of the first season.
John almost spat all over the microphone.
And he finds out this girl is basically the moon. Her spirit's floating. Her spirit's floating like in an yin yang path.
When she was a baby, the moon spirit saved her life by lending her some of its power, and then the moon spirit was destroyed by Jason Isaacs
because he's a butt.
Which, as he's doing it, Iroh is yelling at him not to because he'll throw off the balance because Iroh understands everything.
You said that, and I can hear Mako saying, "Let him go!"
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Great
but
scene.
Holy cow! Then later on, he's like, "Do you have a girlfriend?" He's like, "Yeah, she turned into the moon." He's like, "Wow,
That's rough, buddy.
That's
rough,
buddy."
The Boiling Rock, those two episodes where it's a prison break episode, and it's good bonding between Zuko and
Sokka.
I was chewing something.
Why are you guys eating during an audio podcast?
Because
we have no manners.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, go on.
The microphone. Anyway, I have some favorite moments.
Okay, actually, let's Nate.
Oh, sorry, we're going around.
Yeah, we're still going. Well,
Okay.
I guess Nate just kind of shared one too.
Well, that's one. I also love. I think this was the first part of the Winter Solstice where they find this village in the forest around it's been destroyed, and they find out that that the monster is actually a giant panda bear. He's the god of the forest, but he comes across as a monster at first, and so Aang and Sokka and a few other people go into the forest and they're lost. They can't find their ways back, and then Aang gives the monster a small acorn and says, "Here, grow again." And so he takes it and he grows into the panda, and then all of the missing people start coming out of the forest. This is really cool.
Yeah, there's some neat stuff. I really love the way that the show tries so often, and this is so rare, especially for like an action show, to encourage its protagonists to take the non-violent route. It's not something that they do very well all the time. In particular, the series finale, I don't... if we're going to avoid spoilers, I think that's the one to avoid. I have a friend who hates the finale to the point where he thinks it brings the whole show down.
Oh, I love it.
I'm more forgiving. The non-violent solution they find at the end kind of comes out of nowhere, though.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a bottom pole, you might say. But no, just the way, and that scene that you're describing, Nate, really sets that up very well. This whole like non-violent path that the Avatar should take as much as possible in order to secure the balance that he's seeking. I love that. I love that so much. I want to share a moment real fast, and we can dive back in and do another round after that, I think. But one of my favorite episodes in the whole show is another one of these really quiet, sort of between big action set pieces episodes. It's the one I alluded to earlier, the Danny Tanner episode. It's The Guru. There are some shows that I will always love just because a single episode that I saw got me through a really tough time. It happened with Doctor Who. Completely random comment in a Doctor Who episode helped me get over a breakup. I was having a really bad day when I was watching Pushing Daisies, and there was one scene with Emerson Codd that got me to laugh so hard that I've never...
Because he's the best character in the
I have never felt better in my life than I did in that moment.
Is he the detective?
He's the detective. The Guru episode helped me to get through another tough point, and it's the plot is they've just gotten to Ba Sing Se. They've had their audience with the king. It looks like things are on the up and up, so they split up to try to maximize their ability to fight back against the Fire Nation at this moment. And there are some other subplots going on that are less important than Aang's. Aang goes to visit with this guru, and this guru starts walking him through this process by which he should be able to tap into his full power. And rather than focusing on like martial arts skills, it's not Goku training in the crazy time isolation chamber or whatever the heck they do in Dragon Ball Z.
I don't know what you're talking
Yeah. They sit down and they meditate and they talk, and the guru starts walking Aang, I think his name is Guru Patik, starts walking him through these things that are going on in Aang's life that are blocking his ability to channel his power, and they're emotional things. And so he's talking him through his greatest regrets, his biggest fears, and some of them are more positive. But he's basically doing a 22-minute session of psychotherapy.
You must gain balance within yourself before you can bring balance to the world.
Yes, and he also has that accent.
That's not being like super. That's just how it sounds.
Yeah, that's how it sounds.
Be warned, opening the chakras is an intense experience, and once you begin this process, you cannot stop until all 7 are open. Are you ready? And then they have banana and onion juice.
Yep. But there's so much about like learning to forgive yourself, learning to embrace the things that you're embarrassed about admitting to yourself. It's an emotional episode, and it is one of many that gets me to cry a little bit. Yeah, so let's throw it back open. Anybody else have another favorite moment that they want to talk about?
There are a couple of episodes that I just nothing specific in the episode. The drill.
My gosh, I was about to mention the drill too.
It's a great action episode.
It's so good.
The Fire Nation has showed up. They're more. They have a lot of machines that they've developed over time, and they bring this enormous drill to Ba Sing Se to get through the wall.
Just another side note, you want to talk about the world building. They actually justify in-universe how the Fire Nation has this technology because they stole it.
Yeah.
They actually seed that very early on.
Yeah.
It's pretty great because when things start, it's fairly typical, almost sword and sorcery level technology. Except one guy out there is really brilliant, and he invented blimps and stuff. The Fire Nation takes that technology, reverse engineers it, and all of a sudden they've got all of these crazy machines.
They have a lot of tanks, battleships.
So good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Zeppelins.
That's just. It's a great. You get to see everyone fighting, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
They've just gotten to the wall, and
it's like It's the Baby Driver of Avatar episodes.
And Azula, who's chasing after them for the second and third seasons, she has 2 sidekicks, and so you get to see 3-on-3 kind of Aang and Katara and Sokka and Toph, and then those 3, and then an army of firebenders against each other. And what's interesting, also something they build on in the later series, is one of the girls is an athlete. Like a gymnast, and she can block someone's chi, so she can do a series of quick punches and jabs that take someone's bending away because they're not able to do their moves, and that is a big part of the first season of Korra, which is a follow-up to this show, which we're not talking about. But I'm just saying, there's depth here, and that's just an odd little thing to build on from the first series, but it's interesting.
One scene that just came to my mind that like had me wrenching was Katara is trying to learn how the waterbender or be a waterbender, better waterbender, and Aang's trying to be a better everything, but he's trying to master water too, and so she's kind of helping him out. But she meets this woman and says, "I can teach you better," and she teaches her to bloodbend, and it's It's gruesome. I mean, it's not like gory, but just like the way their bodies are like wrenching and like, it was bad. Like I had a hard time watching it.
It's the Avatar Halloween special.
Yeah.
I actually think it was the Avatar Halloween special, and it is genuinely spooky.
Yeah.
Because you have this woman who has the ability to reach into the water in a person's body and use it to contort their limbs. And the shapes that the characters are going into are already pretty distorted. But then there's, like, the sound effect that goes with it. They've got kind of this grinding, sort of crunching sound effect, and it's hard to watch.
You get a little hint of it at the beginning of the episode when she takes all the water out of the plants in this field, and everything dies in this big circle, and Katara's like, oh, that's kind of...
That's why I think
and she's like, they're just flowers. Cool. Aquaman could be cool.
This is why Aquaman has potential to be cool.
The drill, Sokka's master is great. We get a little bit, he gets kind of... Before that, he's, kind of a goof, and, he makes plans and tries to lead them, but really he's, you don't get to see his competence, and then this episode you get to see, okay, well, he's a good fighter, and, Avatar and the Fire Lord is great. You get some backstory about the previous Avatar and how the war started, and you get to see things from Zuko's point of view and from Aang's point of view. Anytime you get to see those together... like the Storm and the Blue Bandit. Those are great episodes when you get kind of comparing their stories. And of course, Secret Tunnel.
Secret Tunnel.
That's the tale of the Cave of Two Lovers.
That's what the episode was called.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oma and Shu.
So,
Oma Shu.
another one of my favorite scenes actually is from Korra, but it's tangentially. It's the Avatar.
Brady is a rule bender.
But it's the Avatar 1 episode.
Okay. I'm lifting the ban on Korra just for this 2 episode.
Yeah.
It's this 2-episode arc that, and when we were first talking about what it is that makes it feel special, the thing that I talked about is one of my favorite things, and that's world building. And these episodes are all about world building, like literally, because it's the tale of the first Avatar and how all of this came about. And first of all, just aesthetically, like it's different. It has a different sort of animation style than the rest of the series, but it fits so well, and the story is great.
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons is in Korra. That's the only reason you need to watch it, really.
Yeah,
it's good, but
you.
What? J.K. Simmons is good.
Yes, J.K. Simmons is great.
Bring me pictures of Spiderman.
So anyway, let's talk about the what is this episode 2-part called?
Is it Beginnings?
I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah, Beginnings.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
So basically, it's the story of, and you have it. It has the spirit world, and the connection, the bridges to the spirit world. With, I'm trying to look up as much information as I can. I apologize. It's been a while since I've watched.
Basically, how in Avatar, in the Last Airbender, there are 4 nations. In the second to last episode, we learned about this big lion turtle.
Yes.
He's out in the ocean, and it's somehow mystical, somehow connected to the spirit world, and you're like, okay, this is a big island that is actually a big creature in the world. Turns out, it used to be, there were 4 lion turtles, and one of them had all airbenders, one of them had all firebenders, and waterbenders, and earthbenders. Juan is the first one to leave the fire... How they all work... Now I'm like going.
Yeah. See, exactly.
So basically, he's the first one to combine all the powers of each of them in order to defeat evil spirits.
Yeah, basically there are evil spirits from the spirit world that are running amok and are terrorizing people. And so Juan is the name of the first Avatar. Goes to each of the lion turtles to gain their blessing and the powers to, protect the people, and that's how he becomes the bridge between the spirit world. And anyway, it's just the animation is wonderful in these episodes. I highly recommend it. You can watch it on its own without watching any of the rest of Korra, and it will make complete sense. Yeah. But I love it.
Yeah, it's really solid stuff. It's so pretty too. Like it's slightly somehow I feel like they took the character designs for Avatar and Korra and kind of made them more simplified.
Yeah.
They kind of incorporated, Japanese painting.
I was going to say, it looks like a screen print in some parts of it. It's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And it kind of explains where the conflict is coming from in the second season of Korra, but also you get where everything began with the Avatar and the cycle of the nations and all that kind of thing. So it's really interesting. And like you said, how he's the bridge between the real world and the spirit world. So a lot of depth to the show. You wouldn't expect just flipping by and like, oh, there's a Nickelodeon show on right now.
Yeah, a lot of depth.
He's dancing and there's fire. Okay.
And there's a guy that keeps losing his cabbages.
I think we kind of glossed over one point fairly early on. The way that these individuals in the world of Avatar control the different elements is through martial arts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we actually ever said that, which means that anybody who's been listening to us this long thinks we're probably all a little bit crazy.
Oh, they're not still listening.
Maybe structure. Oh, that's
I do like that about the bending. You get to see the blood benders, the swamp benders. You get to see this. There's an assassin who's a firebender that they send after the kids, who they call Sparky Boom Man.
Yeah,
because he's able to focus his firebending into just concussive bursts. So he's basically a sniper, and he has this weird tattoo thing on his eye, and he can just shoot, fire beams out of it, basically.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting.
It's
cool
really
looking.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the action, though. One of my favorite sequences, and it's the one on my third watch through that finally got me to say, okay, no, this show is something special. And it's not even any of the big emotional moments that we've been talking about. It's one of the season 1 episodes. Aang, Katara, and Sokka have taken up refuge at this nunnery where they are making perfume.
Oh, man.
And Zuko and Iroh conscript this woman who has this giant trained mole creature that can track people across continents by their scent. And they wind up having this massive fight in the nunnery at the end of the episode. And Aang is joined in with, by his giant flying bison, another thing that makes people think that we're insane.
I have a friend who had a white SUV, and he named it Appa.
After the bison.
Dang right he did.
After the bison.
Did he paint a big arrow on it?
No, that would have been cool, though.
Oh, but that's the first sequence that I watched and realized just how good the animation for the martial arts sequences were. Because this is a brawl. Sokka and Katara and Iroh actually are... Nope, just Sokka and Katara are immobilized pretty quickly. And so it's a one-on-one fight between Aang and Zuko, and then Appa, the giant flying bison, taking on this giant mole creature.
This anteater... Shearshu? What is it called?
They call it a shearshu. Avatar has these weird animal blends.
There's so much to this show that out of context is like, a turtle duck, you're stupid, I don't want to watch your show.
Are you guys having a stroke?
No.
Hold up both your arms. But
do you smell toast?
No, you can see that might be one of the episodes where you see Aang and the style of airbending where he's evading.
Oh yeah, I believe that's the specific fight where he is dealing with Zuko, kind of just like moving around him, and like he has a hand on his back, and he's just following Zuko's movements, so Zuko can't turn around and hit him.
Yeah.
You really see the level of detail and the thought that went into these fights is so good, and it's so smooth and fluid. And all throughout, you've got these funny little character moments, like Iroh just sneaks over, he smells one of the perfumes, and he likes it, and so he steals a bottle.
And he's passed out next to their bounty hunter, who's really, young and pretty, and they think that he got paralyzed too, and he's like, shh, no. He's just
lying there so he can cuddle.
He's just cuddling.
With the fighting, I think my favorite part of the fighting is Zuko and his sister Azula going head-to-head with each other.
And Azula is supposed to be more of a prodigy and much better at firebending than he is, and it's happening during this comet, so everyone's firebending is more powerful.
Yeah, they actually fight a couple of times, but the one during the finale
is
the animation they stepped up. It's not on 2s, it's on 1s.
It's
you can tell.
Unbelievably pretty.
And
the conceit that they use to help distinguish Azula's firebending from Zuko's is that Azula is so good that her flames burn hotter, and therefore they burn blue. And so she's throwing blue fire around, while Zuko is throwing the typical orange-red fire around. And their firebending powers are so amplified.
The effects animation is really cool.
Yeah.
They're just like, they do this wide shot, like overhead shot of the city, and you just see these geysers of flame shooting up, waves of fire crashing into each other. And the music is like uber dramatic at this point. When I want to talk about cheesy, I think this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is such a dramatic moment, and when it needs to be that dramatic, they don't cut away. They do not cut the drama with humor. They just go for it. And that scene in particular, of all the Zuko, like I say, Zuko and Azula cross swords a couple of times. But of all of their fights, that last one is just awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, not using it in the surfer context, it actually inspires awe. Okay.
Was that the same fight where Zuko's down and Katara jumps in and
Yes!
Zuko fighting for her?
Zuko, showing his character arc, he protects... Azula decides to try to hit Katara with lightning. He jumps in front of it and redirects it, but also injures himself. And then you get a fight with Katara and Azula. And Katara
oh my gosh,
really
I forgot
gets,
about that part.
Yeah, because Katara is, a master, and you don't really see so at first, but by the end of this first series, you can see how she's really a master of waterbending. And so she's able to defeat Azula, who's, gone mad with power. That's really crazy in that episode. She keeps firing servants and stuff because she thinks they're all assassins, and she's going crazy.
Mm-hmm. That actually, I was thinking about skipping this talking point, but I'm going to bring it up now. Who do you ship? Aang and Zuko, or Aang and Katara, or Katara and Zuko?
Aang and Katara, because that's how it's supposed to be.
I don't care about the romantic relationships of children.
Brady, you are the only one.
Except in the episode The Fortune Teller, little, I think her name is May. Poor little May.
Yes.
She. Oh wait, I'm not that episode. Was that her name? Let's see. Meng.
Meng, that's what it was.
Meng, who is voiced by the same girl who did Toph.
Yes.
Like, she did such a good job. They're like, we should bring her back for something, and they made Toph the best character ever.
Yes, that was
and
great.
Meng has a crush on the Avatar. That was going to be my joke answer. Meng and the Avatar should have put.
So
hands on the swings because it's little kids.
So I read a lot about shows that I really, really like. And so I read a lot about the fandom really fighting because a lot of people thought that Katara should end up with Zuko. Mm-hmm. And Katara and Zuko are actually teenagers. So that's a little more, a little less weird than Aang, who is a child. But the show creators always wanted it to be Katara and Aang because Katara was there from the beginning. They kind of grew through this hard experience together. I do think it sends a weird message that you will marry the girl that you fell in love with when you were 10. But they always fought for it. But throughout the show, there are these moments. There's a moment at the end of Season 2 where Katara and Zuko are stuck alone in a cave, and they really bond for just a moment before Zuko turns back to the dark side. And then there's this fact that Katara went with Zuko to face his sister. She didn't go with Aang. She went with Zuko. And so these little things, and they're like, okay, I can kind of see why somebody would maybe ship Katara with Zuko instead of with Aang. And then I found out that one of the episode directors, Joaquin Dos Santos, actually shipped Katara and Zuko. And so that's why these moments kept happening, because that's what he wanted to have happen. But he wasn't one of the show creators, who, again, we haven't mentioned yet, are Brian Konietzko and Mike DiMartino. I think I got the names right. Those two wanted it to be Katara and Aang, and so that's what wound up happening.
I will say that Katara and Aang actually ending up together gave me a couple of my favorite characters and their children for Korra.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Is it the episode where Aang is not able to sleep because he's worried about fighting the Fire Lord, where he's hallucinating. He's like, "Come here, you're my forever girl." And he's having a dream where he's kissing her, and he wakes up kissing something else.
Yep.
In classic cartoon fashion.
Yeah, one of the crazy, weirdest episodes, and we don't have time to talk about it.
How are you supposed to fight me if you're not wearing pants? No time to talk about it. Come on, that's all you have to say.
No, because there's one other, the last topic that I wanted to touch on. I thought about skipping this in the interest of time, but no, I think we do want to talk about it.
Yes.
When I got to the end of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I felt what I've heard it called The Void. There's an internet YouTube anime reviewer who talks about The Void. You get to the end of a show, a particularly engaging show, and you just feel the sense of emptiness that comes from the fact that there's no more of this show to consume. And so you need to go out and find something else to watch that's like it. I kind of hate the way he talks about it because it sounds really unhealthy because we are talking about shows for tiny babies. But
and TV in general.
And TV in general, which it's a fun leisure activity, can be informative, I firmly believe that entertainment, you can lose yourself in it and then actually come out of it not just relieved of your stress, but actually come out of it a better person. And I think Avatar is one of those shows that does that. However, it's still a television show, not real life. So, with all of that said, though, I came out of Avatar: The Last Airbender very much experiencing the void. And if you've never seen the show before and you watch through it and you find yourself experiencing the same things, I thought it might be helpful for us to recommend shows that we have come across that scratch a similar itch to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Shows that fill the void. Brady's got a list up.
Thank goodness, because I only knew of like 2 things.
Yeah, and they're probably going to be my 2, and Brady's going to have them too.
Well,
So-
you're going before me, so.
The first thing that I want to talk about, it's actually not a show, it's a book.
What?
It's a book where you have a world of very different abilities that are hereditary, where a tyrant has power and works to repress those that actually do have abilities, while a group of rebels who do happen to have some abilities, led by someone with all of the abilities, work to take down the regime. And that would be Mistborn.
John wrote that down because he knew where you were going.
Well, I was going to say that too, because it feels with the magic system as Sandersonites,
Sandersonians, yeah.
Sandersonians, that is better. Yeah. English major. It does scratch the same itch, and in similar plot points, but really it's the abilities of the comparisons between normal people and people with the abilities. You see a bit of tension in both shows, more in Korra in the first season of Korra, but yeah, I would agree.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, Brady, you had more to say.
The Final Empire. So if you have not read it, go read it. It is outstanding,
and it's worth get through the first couple of chapters, first couple 100 pages. It's a long haul, but like.
It's high fantasy, so it goes
high
back to
fantasy. And once you get hooked, then you can go back in the first couple of pages, the first couple 100 pages, where you're like, "What is going on?" It all clicks, and it's good, and it's worth it.
Definitely.
And the audiobook is good too.
So another thing that could scratch that itch is the new Voltron show.
It's awesome
on Netflix.
It keeps recommending, and I haven't given it the time.
So good.
The animation specifically is what really, really reminds me of it. Though you also have similar situations with characters that you really latch onto and you really start to love.
The animation style is almost exactly the same.
In fact, I think that it has like some animators specifically that worked on both shows.
It did.
Yeah.
So it's like Americanized anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good though.
But it's really good. And then the last one that I would actually recommend is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
That's actually the one that I was going to recommend, because after I finished watching it for the first time, I actually called up one of my buddies and said, "Hey, you know what? So I just finished Full Metal Alchemist, and it might be as good as Avatar." And he told me to shut up. But it might be as good as Avatar. I think Avatar is better in the sense that it's got more heart to it. Mm-hmm. But in terms of pure craft, no, Full Metal Alchemist is good. And it's got a finale that is, in a lot of ways, even more satisfying than the finale of Avatar. It just builds and builds and builds and then pulls all of these... The final confrontation is the entirety of the 5th season. It goes for so long. But it's not like Dragon Ball Z. It's the second time I've referenced that this episode. It's not like Dragon Ball Z where the fights go for so long because they spend 20 minutes staring at each other and shouting. It's because there are so many different threads. We're following this one group of military people through the fight, and we're following the main character, and we're following his brother, and we're following this particular group, and then we're following the mastermind, and we're following all of these different people, and all of their plots come together in this chaotic battle, and it just hops from storyline to storyline to storyline to storyline, and it's so good and so engaging.
I thought it was just for a whole season, two dudes in the air floating.
No. Okay. It's intense and complex and wonderful.
Is it on YouTube?
And so many of the characters are just amazing. Stephen and I actually had a conversation a couple of months ago after recording a podcast where we were kind of talking about, well, is Riza Hawkeye the best character, or is it Roy Mustang, or is it? There are so many amazing characters in this, and I would say that totally this does get a little bit more serious a little bit more often.
Yes,
but I would say that totally they are actually right there. So similar and just neck and neck. Yeah,
that's a solid recommendation for a good follow-up show to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because I don't know, most of the recommendations that I see are for a lot of other shonen anime, for things like Naruto or One Piece, and I can't really vouch for those because I don't love them. Shonen anime is not my genre, but Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in particular just. Quite a good match.
Well, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is the show that convinced me, okay, I can get into anime.
Yeah. And of course, there's the big obvious one that we haven't mentioned, which is Korra.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we've not mentioned that at all. Yeah.
I mean, we haven't specifically mentioned Korra as a good follow-up to Avatar.
Right.
But part of the reason for that is I don't think it actually is, in the sense that it's not going to scratch the same itch. I don't think. It's similar in a lot of ways. But it's more mature.
Yeah.
And honestly, the craft behind it isn't as good as the craft behind something like Full Metal Alchemist. But it's nice to see, because Korra really solidifies that the ending of Avatar: The Last Airbender is a happy ending, because you see all of the characters from the original show, and they all, for the most part, ended up in a very good place, and you want to see that for your protagonists. But it also starts to build on that world even further. It explores some really interesting philosophical points. Again, you've got that great action choreography.
I love this.
You have some.
And you've got the steampunk aesthetic. It's the same world, only now it's steampunk times.
Yeah.
70 years in the future, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And so many of the characters are so amazing.
Korra herself is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But I actually like Korra as a main character more than I like Aang as a main character.
I don't really like Aang very much.
I love Aang, but I
Aang is functional. Yeah. Korra is fleshed out in a way that Aang never got.
I just like that we get to see someone learning airbending and getting behind, and then you're like, yeah, Aang just did it, and Aang lived it, and Aang was she's completely opposite,
she's
mindset.
A born waterbender who has the attitude of a firebender
or an earthbender,
and
just stubborn and tough and just
And I think that in many ways, I actually kind of prefer Korra to Avatar, and I think
it's young adult as opposed to a children's show.
Yeah,
part of it probably.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a big part of it. There are so many characters I love in it. Do the thing!
Oh, man. Well, anytime
Varric is
that
so great.
John Michael Higgins, he's in all the Pitch Perfect movies. He was a lawyer in Arrested Development.
Oh, that guy. He's
in a million things, and he's wonderful.
He's in Great News. If you haven't watched that, watch it.
Yeah, he's terrific in it.
He was in a freaking episode of Adam Ruins Everything. Holy cow. Anyway.
Can I say my TV show that kind of...
Oh, did we missed one for... I just assumed that Brady named both of yours.
Nope.
He named both of mine, so I have nothing.
All right.
Pushing Daisies.
Interesting.
When it got canceled, I was heartbroken. More so than any other show I had ever seen. Of course, at that time, I hadn't seen Avatar or Korra. But when that got canceled, I was like, why take away the best TV show? I need more of it. And then the other thing's not a movie or a show, but I still haven't played Uncharted 4 yet. because I don't want it to be over.
Yeah, I didn't even think of going to video games, honestly. That's funny, because I love Pushing Daisies, but to me, Pushing Daisies scratches a very different itch.
Well, he's talking about the void created by...
Oh, yeah, that's a void creating show, faux show. Jeez.
Just got whiter in here.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and on that note, we leave you. So, yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a wonderful show. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It gets a vote of recommendation from all of us at this table. If
9 thumbs up.
If you have seen it, maybe go watch it again.
It's pretty good.
Because it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's really cheap. You can find the full series like on eBay for like $15.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon.
All of the Last Airbender shows. Now, Korra, it's just 3 seasons and might not even be that anymore. Which I still haven't seen the last season of Korra, so I haven't seen the Return of Toph.
So good.
I love Toph.
Yeah, it's one of the most easily accessible show. You can find it in any bargain bin at any DVD store. Even new, you can get it for relatively cheap.
It's worth the buy, whatever price.
It is. It absolutely is.
Just don't just get it for your 9-year-old nephew who doesn't appreciate gift giving. Obviously,
but you know, I feel like all of our conversations tonight have been cyclical because this is a TV show version of high fantasy, and you might have to give it a few episodes before you start to catch on.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
That is actually fair.
It's a slow start, but the payoff is so good that, like, yeah.
I've said this before. I'm gonna kind of close on this note. If you've listened to the podcast before, you've heard me say, like, be very, very critical of things, and I nitpick a lot.
Oh, no.
I know.
Hey,
but I also like to think that I'm someone of very discerning taste.
Oh, so you're allowed? Oh, I see.
Yeah. Anyway, like, there are a lot of great shows out there. Batman the Animated Series is an all-time classic.
Awesome.
I love the style and substance behind a show like Cowboy Bebop. I finally sitting down and watching all of Gravity Falls and just loving every bleeding second of it.
And the payoff is great. Like, it actually builds, like, I like when shows have a plan. Lost.
Yeah.
I have a hat, a Dipper hat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And we have the journal number 3 that's like that
Excellent.
thick. That has, I mean, there's tons and tons of it.
With all of that said,
Not bad.
you can make a very strong case that Avatar: The Last Airbender is, and it is this, in my opinion, the best animated show ever. You can make the argument, whether you agree with me or not, you can make the argument. And for that reason alone, like, I think this show is worth watching. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We've had a blast talking at you about the show. We will see you again a little bit later this month. We got our July episode out a bit late due to some personal emergencies. But we should have another episode before the end of the month. Woo! Woo!